Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to play an Against the Bot campaign for MegaMek. This is a computerized version of Battletech using the Battletech rule systems. It's a completely free game. You can download this from the MegaMek site, and I'll put a link up to that in the description of the video. It is free, however, you do need to know how to play Battletech, and there are guides on how to play it online. I think to get the most out of the campaign, you really need the campaign rulebooks, at least Total Warfare and Strategic Operations and some of the campaign operations. There are some other books. I think if I probably spent about $60 or so on the PDFs from Catalyst Game Lab's site in order to really get kind of the full background info on what's going on with this. But I've not read those books from cover to cover, I've got to be honest, because there's hundreds and hundreds of pages. But I will be referring to them in the game as we come to situations where I need it. Okay, I'm not going to go through a detailed campaign setup. I was thinking about it, but honestly, I just don't know enough about the systems to really be able to tell you why I'm making certain changes yet. I've just followed a guide that comes with the game, basically, and there are a couple of people who have done pretty good MekHQ campaign setups. I'm going to go with the Against the Bot starter guide because this game's actually quite hard. So I'm going to put it on this. I'm just going to use the starter guide settings, then I'm just going to make a few changes, and what I'll do is I'll show you any pertinent changes that I'm going to make that are kind of serious. When it comes to the era, I like playing in the late succession wars because I'm not that bothered about the clan stuff yet. I haven't really looked at it very hard, and it just looks to complicate things a lot, and I really just like the elegance of the succession war stuff. I just think it's really nice and balanced. It feels a lot more balanced than the clan stuff. I just don't know how to play the clan stuff, so I'm going to leave that for somebody else to show you how to do. Just going to pick a random date to start. This is a nice era though to play in. Okay, we're going to be called the Battlemoders. The Battlemoders, and we'll just pick a camo. I'll just pick a kind of a nice light coloured one for the time being. I'll probably change that later when I come to think about it a little bit more. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of settings to go through in this game, and I'm not going to go through all of them. The Against the Bot setup guide that comes packaged with the game has a text file. It's not very long, and it tells you basically everything that you need to do in order to set this up properly. Okay, so I think at the start of the game, there's a couple of things that I will do. I'd probably make sure that when you're making maintenance checks, all your parts for all your mechs have to be checked, right? Your mech techs have to go through them, and they determine whether they increase or decrease in quality. This is kind of like quite a brutal mechanic at the start because you can actually damage a lot of your stuff if you've got bad mech techs. So I'm just gonna drop the maintenance modifier down to -2 just to make it a little bit easier, because yeah, that can be quite difficult. Equipment hit in combat survives on a roll of 9 or better. I'm just going to change that down to 9. I'm going to make the game just a little bit easier for myself because I'm not that good at it, I've got to be honest. Even if I use these relatively easy settings, I will still get beaten. The other thing that is kind of odd is in base game Battletech, it uses a system from A to F for determining what's from bad to worse, basically. So with an A is worse and F is best. So you think about it like A is awful but F is fine. I don't like that. I know that Puritans will want it, F being the highest quality and A being the worst, but the game defaults to reversing that, and I'm just going to reverse it because it makes more sense to me that A would be better and F would be worse. That's just more, for me, that just makes more sense. Okay, so we're going to use quirks for repairs. Supplies and acquisitions. I'm trying to remember what it was that I did here. Yeah, I'm not going to mess around with this too much. I'm gonna make it so that you can have more acquisitions per day. So what happens in the campaign is when I'm probably doing this backwards. What is this game exactly? Basically, this is a BattleTech campaign, okay, that's played against a computerized opponent. It just generates missions for you. It allows you to have a persistent team that will level up. You'll be able to build your squad how your company how you want it, travel around, do missions. The missions are quite difficult. People will die, you'll lose mechs, you'll have to repair them, in the field. It's just a really interesting game, and for anybody who's played Mech Warrior or any of the Battletech themed games like HBS Battletech, you'll understand what's you'll see how it is. It's basically the same kind of game. It's kind of like HBS Battletech except loads better. It doesn't have the nice graphics obviously, but it's a turn-based game. But this is proper Battletech, and it uses all the proper rules and many more if you want. So yeah, I'll just go very, very quickly through some of these things that I'm doing. I might actually change these as we go, by the way, just because I'm doing it kind of quickly. I might make mistakes. Yeah, I'm just going to leave most of these settings as they are. Most of them just are pretty much. I like to use Edge for non-combat personnel, and Edge is kind of like gives you a reroll basically. Log Edge gains in the personnel file. Yeah. Okay. Finances. We're just going to leave this pretty much untouched. This, I'm going to leave this pretty much untouched. Experience. Now, this is already set to have a much. This is like a much quicker experience gain level, and we're going to play with this because, yeah, again, I'm still learning the game really. So this is like a nice beginner setting, I think. Skills and SPAs you probably don't want to touch. Skill randomization you probably don't want to touch. The rank system we're just going to leave as Star League Defense Force. This just determines, you know, the order of the different ranks that you have, like, you know, recruit, private, corporal, sergeant. And there's different systems. I'm just going to use that one. We've got the name and portrait generation. I'm just going to leave this as it is. I want portrait generation for all characters because I like to see a portrait. I might change the odd one here and there if I see duplicates. Percentage of female troops, just leave on 50%. I think Battletech is supposed to be kind of, you know, the women fight as well. Okay, personnel market and contract market. I'm just going to leave this. Random, the RAT generator you don't need to touch. Now, against the bot settings, this is the main settings that you're going to want to change in this game. So I'm going to put the skill level down to green because, and some people recommend if you're starting, just put it on ultra green. Don't worry too much about, you know, pride with this. This is a difficult game. Like I was just running through a campaign, and I had this on green, and yeah, this I still lost mechs, and it was kind of tense. So we are going to, let me just have a look. I'm not using drop ships. Company size limits. No, we're just going to leave all this off. Now, here's one thing you do want to change. I'm going to drop this intensity down to 0.5. I was actually recommended to do it at 0.2. It's a little bit low for me, that is. I'm going to put it down to 0.5. So what this means is it's the frequency of battles that you have to fight when you're doing a mission. And a mission is a series of battles, okay? And they come very, very quickly, and it doesn't give you much time to repair your mech, so you've got to play really carefully. I'm actually going to drop that to 0.5, and I might potentially change that later on. Pretty much everything else is, I'm just going to leave it as it is. There was some other things that I think I needed to change, but I can't quite remember what it was now. I can't remember if it was in supply and acquisition, or was it in personnel? Default prisoner status. I'm just going to put them on prisoner. You can actually recruit prisoners. Defect is an unofficial add-on as part of the ATB rule set, and will mean that prisoners are willing to defect to your forces. Yeah, so you can kind of grab, you can take enemy pilots from, you know, and they might be willing to defect. This is a role-playing game, okay? And you'll see a lot of the decisions I take in the game might be kind of role-play based rather than sort of min-maxing. I think that you've got to show restraint when you're playing a game like this, because you've got GM tools. You can just give yourself money here and there if you want. You know, you can do all sorts of stuff to try to make the game easier. Like if I'm really enjoying the campaign and I'm really struggling, I might just give myself a little boost to keep it going. Or I might, if I'm doing way too well, I might just raise the difficulty. Cause myself to lose some money, whatever. I'll just play with it and just see how it goes. Okay, we're just going to go to confirm. All right. So I'm not sure if we can just increase the size of the GUI here. I'm trying to remember how you do this. I'm going to see if I can do this. Display options. There's loads and loads of options, by the way, for changing this. I've got this on a dark theme because the white theme just makes my eyes hurt. I don't like staring at white, bright white screens. It's not good for you. At least it's not good for me. It doesn't make me feel good. So I like to have it dark. I'm sorry if that's kind of annoying for people. You will be able to zoom in on this if you want. Can we actually make this? Yeah, we can make this window bigger, but it's not going to do much to the campaign size. I'm pretty sure we can actually change this. Anyway, I'm not going to mess with it now. All right, folks. So here we are. This is the command center. we've not actually got a company at the moment. This is where you're playing this whole game from. Then when you fight a battle, this is the campaign side of things. When you fight a battle, then you will load up MegaMek, which is the battle. You know, the part of the game that simulates the battle. And you've seen me play that loads. So first thing we want to do is we need to make a company. Excuse me. So we go to the company generator. This is really good. This pretty much does everything for you. Again, I'm not going to go through what all this does. It's all in the text document, and yeah, you don't really need to mess with too many of the settings here. So we're not going to generate a command company, Lance. I think what we're going to do, we are going to generate 3 lances. So we're going to have one company of 3 lances, and each lance will have 4 battle mechs. And what I might do is I might just generate myself another couple of mechs on top, because it's quite helpful to have. I'm just going to put that assault number up to 400 tons, so just get a slightly bigger assault lancers. Yeah, I think it's good to be able to pick a couple of mechs, because you're going to get a random bunch of mechs, okay, and they're just going to be completely random. And I might re-roll it if I don't like what I get, because I want to be able to play with some stuff that's fun. And I'm probably going to give myself another couple of mechs, because you do want one. If you get a really tough mission at the start and you lose a lot of mechs, it can be really hard to continue. We've got this process finances thing. This generates you a bunch of money, and then everything that you get, like all the people that you generate. I'm going to get more mech text, by the way. I'm going to put that up to. I'll put the mech text up to 10. And this is just generating the personnel. This simulates the whole of a mech company, basically, from your mech warriors, the technicians and mechanics who work on them, the doctors, administration, everything. Like it's a full-on kind of like management game, a management simulation. So we get money to start with as well. Now, you want to process finances. That means that it will generate you a bunch of money, and then it's going to you'll then. It will take off the costs of everything that you're paying for, and you'll get a minimum starting fund. Now, I'm just going to give myself just a little bit more here. I think, yeah, what I'll do is I'll just leave the money as it is, but I might just give myself an extra mech or 2, depending on what we get in the role. Now, the specified planet that we're starting on. I'm just going to start on Terra. I'm just going to leave this pretty much on vanilla. So we're going to be starting, you know, in the right on Terra, which is Earth, in the inner sphere. Okay. Now, I don't want to generate Star League mechs, because we don't. The thing is, if you get any mechs that have got the high-tech stuff from the Star League, then it's really hard to get parts for it in this era. So I'm just not going to bother with that. Generate mothballed spare units. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'll just give myself a couple here. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm not going to touch anything else, I don't think. I'm just going to change the naming method to ICAO and 1956. This is kind of like a NATO style, you know. So you get Bravo Company, Beta Company, that kind of stuff. It's just a naming thing for your company. Okay. Yeah, pretty much good to go. So let's just go to generate. And it's going to give us an error, but you just go through this. Okay, so this is actually now, like you'll see in the daily activity log, it's actually given us a whole bunch of mech, you know, of mech commanders. It's given us a bunch of mechs. So the first thing we want to do is we'll go to the hangar and just check the mechs we've got. So it's kind of interesting. Look, it's given us 3 archers, which is kind of weird. It's given us 2 griffins, 3 griffins. Yeah. Yeah, we've got like 3 griffins, 3 archers, Ostsol, Dervish. So we've got a lot of heavy mechs, a lot of mediums. Not very nice. This is not a very good, you know, kind of mix though. I do like the archer, don't get me wrong. I'm going to keep one of those. I think having 3 though is just, yeah, it's just too much. So what we'll do is, the archer is a 70-ton mech. We'll just replace it with something else. So let's just replace one of those. We're not going to sell it. We'll just remove the unit. So let's replace that archer. So what you do is you go into marketplace, unit market, and then you can just basically, these are the ones that are available on the market right now, and then you can just give yourself one, or you can just pick something just randomly. I might just, or you just pick something at will. Sorry, I think I might just pick from here. So the Warhammer is a little bit, it's the same, is a little bit, I think it's 70 tons, the same as the archer. Yeah, they're both 70 tons. So that Warhammer is a good unit. This is the classic Warhammer, I think, as well. WHM6R. Let me just get Sana up. So this is a page that you want to look at. This is the Battletech wiki, and you can use this to check all of the stuff in the game, basically. And I can't remember which one is the, yeah, it is the 6R. So it comes with 2 PPCs, 1 SRM6, 2 medium lasers, 2 small lasers, and 2 machine guns. Yeah, okay. So let's grab that thing. And we're just going to go with add GM. We're in GM mode, which basically enables us to add bits and pieces. And we'll just get that archer. We're just going to replace it with whoever it was who had it. Okay, this guy. And we've got a third archer. So let's, again, we're going to remove that. I'm just gonna kind of go through this and just neaten it up a little bit. Let's go back to the unit market. Have we got another heavy? Just SRM carriers. Okay. So instead, what we'll do is we'll go to the purchase unit, and now we can just search for something, whatever we want. So let's go to heavy, and we'll try to get something that's the same kind of tonnage. So catapult's kind of a nice mech. But we've already got an archer. Thunderbolt's pretty cool. And Orion's a nice one. Now I think it's the... Again, I'm just going to check Sana. I just want to see which is the classic model. You'll notice a bit of a thing with me. Like, I quite like to use the classic thematic. Yeah, it's the 1K. Is that right? Yeah, the ON1K. 1 autocannon 10, 1 LRM 15, 2 medium lasers, and 1 SRM 4. So this is the... Yeah, we're just going to add one of those as well. Now, this is a bit of an upgrade on an archer, I'd say. But that's okay, because this game is hard. So if it looks like I'm kind of making things a little bit too easy for myself, don't worry. It's not an easy game. Again, we're just going to assign the pilot back into this. It gives you a bunch of pilots as well. And we'll go through and have a look at our pilots and just see what they're like. By the way, you'll see that we've got about 4 million credits left. This is in the funds down here. After we paid for everything that we got. Okay, we've got the Warhammer, we've got the Orion, we've got an Archer. Now, this is showing yellow because we don't have a tech crew assigned. So let's get an elite mech tech on that one. Where are we? Sign person. Maybe we get the Warhammer with someone else. So every tech crew has a amount of minutes that they can work for. I think that guy's okay. So the mech tech will be looking after and maintaining each one of these mechs, and they have to have a tech crew assigned. Let's just make sure these are. This is our table of equipment, by the way. This is the Battlemoders whole. This represents our whole group, organization, Merc Company. This is Alpha Company, and then it's split into 3 different lances: Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. So Alpha Lance here, we've currently only just got the Archer and the Ossol assigned. So we're going to add the Warhammer, and we're going to add the Orion. So this is how you add your, and you can see the pilots here with their mechs added in here. Okay, we've got Bravo Lance here, and then we've got Charlie Lance. I'm just going to open those up so we can just see from the start what we've got. Now, Alpha Lance is a heavy lance, and this is good. We've hit 275 tonnage. The tonnage is important. The game uses battle value mostly, but the tonnage is important because the tonnage of the mech, of the lance that you are deploying into each mission, will determine what the enemy throws at you. And if you've got an underweight lance, then it can be quite difficult to fight against what they send you, because they might, the AI will probably load it up with quite a lot of heavier stuff. And by heavier, I mean more difficult, essentially. Okay, let's get back to the hangar. We've also got 3 Griffins. We've got a 1S version, which is, this is the one with the large laser. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to keep the 1N because the 1N is the classic Griffin with the PPC and the LRM-10. And I'm going to get rid of, I'm just going to mix and match them a little bit. I don't mind having duplicates, generally speaking. Because we've given ourselves an Orion as well, which is a really good heavy mech. It's a really good heavy mech. I could potentially drop one of these. Let's get rid of this Griffin 1S. It's going to remove that unit. And then, so the Griffin's a 55-ton mech. Let's see if we can replace it with a 50 or 55-ton. So we go to purchase unit. Going to go back to medium. I might give myself a Hunchback. I've got a thing for the Hunchback. I really like it. I like AC-20s. The 4P's horrendously strong. But yeah, the 4P's kind of overkill. So I'm going to give myself the classic Hunchback, because for me the Hunchback is an iconic mech and I really like it. Okay, let's get that guy piloted. I will probably swap the pilots around. Now the pilots are cool because you've got your personnel here and all your mech warriors, and you've got characters with different skill levels, right? You'll get elite pilots, you'll get regulars, you'll get greens, and they can work their way up in experience. And as they gain experience for doing stuff, they'll end up you can actually spend the experience points on different skills, or just their general piloting or gunning abilities. So it's a really nice progression, and you're really incentivized to keep your pilots alive. Unlike in other mech warrior kind of games, or Battletech games, generally speaking, you really want to keep your people alive. Okay, let's assign. We got, wow. Oh, this is a MekTech here. Yeah, this guy seems to have got. I've got plenty of time, so now we want to assign. We got a pilot, yeah. Kirian. I might change some of the. What I might do before the next episode is I might go through and change some of the call signs that they've got, just so there's stuff that's a bit easier for me to say and see, or just kind of more thematic for me, I guess. Okay, let's get rid of the second Griffin. Yeah, let's just remove that one and go into the unit market. Let's find. So what is the Griffin basically? The Griffin is medium mech. It's got the PPC and LRM-10. It's a sniper, basically. So I think it's a sniper. I think it's classed as a sniper style mech. And this thing is really useful, yeah, for long range stuff. But it can jump in punching. It's got jump jets as well. It's just a decent heavy mech, but it's kind of long range focused, I guess. Now we have got a Hunchback we've replaced with one of our other for the other Griffin. So the second Griffin. We've got a bodyguard, basically, for something like the Archer or the Warhammer. The Ostsol's an interesting one. Yeah, Ostsol's just like lots and lots of lasers, which is kind of interesting here. It's also got that narrow, low-profile trait that I really like. I'm tempted to replace that Griffin with a Dragon, because that's another mech that I really like to play with, although it's a heavy mech technically. So what we might have to do is, if we do that... We have got some really good medium mechs. Got Dervish, Griffin, Wolverine. Yeah, we got the Hunchback as well, obviously. Let's just sort these by weight class. So Hunchback's just a close-in brawler. Then we've got the Dervish, which I think is kind of a mix of it's long range, but it can get in close as well. The Griffin is mostly a long range tool, and then the Wolverine, it's got an AC5, sorry, for long range stuff, and then an SRM6. SRM6 and a medium laser. That's interesting. Is that the standard Wolverine model? The 6R? Anyone way to find out? Yep, the 6R, okay. That's an interesting weapon loadout. AC5, SRM6. So the SRM6 and the medium lasers are going to be really good for close combat. SRM6 is strong, by the way. The SRMs do 2 damage. So if you get all 6 hits, you're going to do 12 damage, which is pretty strong. So I think you're going to be using this thing to blink away from long range. and then, you know, gradually, once you get in close, then you're going to be using him to kind of take advantage of any armor that you've stripped away. So yeah, nice little mech that. So what are we going to replace this Griffin with? Let's have a look. We've got a medium mech. I would like a dragon, but perhaps we'll get one of those later in the game. You can't have everything that you want. Trebuchet's nice. Shadowhawk's quite a classic mech. The I think it's the 2H. Yeah, it is the 2H. It's the classic Shadowhawk. Kind of sort of undergunned a little bit. Again, it's a little bit like the Wolverine in that it can close with the AC5, but then we've got the LRM5, you know, so it can snipe for a bit and then it can jump in, but it's not quite as hard hitting in close combat. We got a Phoenix Hawk as well. I do like this mech a lot. I like the Kurita version too. If I remember right, the Kurita version doesn't have a jump jet, but it's got... I don't remember how that's changed. Is it more armor? I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, it's just more heavily armored. It loses the jump jet and it loses the machine guns. I think I'm just going to go. I think I'm going to grab a Phoenix Hawk here because that's a good mech. It's got this communications equipment on it, which basically means that it's kind of acts like a command mech and gives you an initiative bonus. Okay, so let's get that assigned to the pilot. Steeljaw, okay, and then we're going to assign it a tech. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's looking a bit better. So we've got a Locust 1V, the classic Locust, which I like. The Javelin 10N. Which one is that one? 2 SRM6s. Is that the? I think that's a standard Javelin, isn't it? Again, I'm just going to have a check. Javelin. Yeah, 10N. It's a classic Javelin. So this guy's interesting. He's basically got a very, very hard-hitting attack. He's lightly armored, but this guy's basically, he jumps in, does a ton of damage with these missiles, hopefully, and then jumps back out again. Very much like a Jenner. I would like a Jenner in this game. And then we've also got a Wasp as well. The Wasp is a scout mech. Now, I'm probably going to turn on the hidden drop stuff, so we have to actually use scouting. That's not something that's usually in the base rules, but I'll do that in... Yeah, let's just go to game options. So this is the game. This is the options in the game. Yeah, so blind. So we got the blind drop and real blind drop, and your own units are displayed. Yeah, this might make things. It'll make things more difficult. Advanced rules. Here we go. So double blind. Tac Ops double blind. If checked, enemy units will only be visible if they're in line of sight or the light or one of your sensor ranges, basically. So we're going to have that as well. So we do actually have to have some scouting. And Tac Ops sensor rules. If checked, units will be able to spot other units via sensors as well as line of sight. And then we've got the no double blind messages. If checked, you'll only see messages from major events and units in line of sight, so we want that one too. We can also hide the battle value report too. If checked and double blind is on, battle value will be hidden. Now, in the initiative report, I might leave that off just so that I've got some idea of like whether I'm winning or not. This will make the game a lot more difficult. There is loads and loads and loads of other stuff that we can do. Tactical ops stuff, for example, infantry being able to dig in. You know, there's loads and loads of things in here. Now, destroyed units create rough terrain, this kind of stuff. I think that you know, these are all really, really interesting rules, and you really want to go through the rule book and read them just so that you can figure out what it all is. There's loads of cool stuff in the advanced combat rules. I think for the time being, I'm just going to leave most of this stuff off. They really do complicate the game in a big way. There's so many things you can do. This is basically for people who don't mind sitting and playing one tabletop game for like 6 or 7 hours and then just really going into just making it as realistic and interesting as possible. There is some cool stuff that I wouldn't mind adding, like I like the sprinting rules. We've got evasion. You can use evasive movement. There's a few bits and pieces that we can do here, but I think I'm going to leave sprinting on. The standing still rule's pretty brutal. It basically makes if you stand still, you're easier to hit. Yeah, I'll leave that off. I think that, you know, sometimes it can, you know, it might be a little bit too tough. I do like the sprinting rule though. Being able to sprint really helps some of the lighter mechs survive. So advanced aerospace rules I'm not worried about. The initiative rules, it's automatically going to be using the individual initiative rules for the game. Infantry don't count for movement initiative might be a good one to put on. Mind you, actually we're using individual initiative, so that doesn't even matter. We'll just leave that off. We're using pilot special abilities and edge from the RPG stuff. That's about it, I think. Yeah, I think that's about it. We might come back into this later. Let's just go okay. So we've just changed the rules. So the main thing that I did there was make it so that when we deploy, we can't see the enemy. You know, obviously playing with invisible units on tabletop is much more difficult. You have to have like a GM adjudicating. You don't have to do that in MegaMek. And it will make scouting, you know, interesting. All right. Let's just see where we are on the video length. Yeah, it's been half an hour. Okay, folks, I'm going to probably end the episode there, but that's going to be the first episode. We've just done some setup, basically, and we've got our lance. What I'm going to do next... Oh, hold on. We need to just add... Let's just add these units back in. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go through some of these guys off camera and just rename some of them. You know, rename some of their call signs, and then I'm just going to go look through their pilot skills and stuff, and then assign them to the, you know, the troops, the mechs that they're both best suited towards. And yeah, probably something that might be best done offline, and then I can just kind of like anything that's interesting I'll just highlight and show you. And then in the next episode, what we're going to do is we're actually going to I'll take you through some of the, you know, we'll pick a mission. I think the best way to show this game basically is just to play it. We could spend hours and hours just going through all the different things that are in here, how the game plays, and I don't think that would be massively interesting, particularly if people already know how it works. And for anybody who is watching, you know, I think just playing it. And I'm going to be working this out as well, by the way. I haven't played this a whole lot, and there's a fair chance that I'm going to do really, really badly. I will give myself license to make a judicious use of GM mode occasionally, just to kind of change things here and there, just to make the campaign a bit more fun. But for the most part, I'm going to try to stick to the rules. Okay, well, I hope you're excited about this campaign, and in the next episode, you're going to see some action. Take it easy, guys.